quorum, and the agenda was properly posted. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not specific agenda item. We don't have any, so those are all agenda items. Item 5 is discuss and consider the regular board meeting from November 4th. Any edits, updates, motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Sarah, I got that.
Yeah.
All right, motion second. Any other further discussion? Having heard that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Item 6, then we'll move into a public hearing regarding the here interested citizens for the 2020 proposed budget for the village of Cottage Grove. So this is public's opportunity certainly to sign in a sheet and speak on the specific agenda item. We'll open the public hearing. Now it's 6:31 or so. We'll hear from staff first, in this case, and then any questions from the board, and then any public comments not to exceed 3 minutes. And we're going to have you account for that. So, Matt, Aaron, you guys want to? I know there was a memo in there, updated memo from Matt.
Yeah, so there's only been one change since the budget workshop that established the preliminary budget, and that was the addition of the village's portion of funds towards the fire department brush truck of $12,500, and then essentially just the budget notes that I had there in the memo. The financial management plan this year had a planned levy increase of 7.2%. After the budget workshop, that was lowered to 7%, and ultimately the impact to the taxpayer is 5.9%. So we can see if there's any comments from the public, and then the board can have further discussion if there's any adjustments to the budget that you guys would like to make, and ultimately it's a good discuss and consider adoption of the budget tonight. We've had the budget's been published for, the preliminary budget's been published for the over 15 days. So
We don't have any folks from the public that are at least up here listed to speak on this specific topic. Anything else from the board regarding the budget? I know we've all seen it several times now in various forms. And we obviously include our portion of the brush truck in this budget.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-11, resolution adopting the 2020 budget and authorizing the clerk to levy taxes.
We need to close.
We need to close the public hearing first, but I like your thought.
All right.
Since you're yeah, you won't have to say it again.
All right.
So we'll close the public hearing at 6:34. So there's nobody here to talk about that, and then Heidi has
All right.
motioned.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the resolution for the 2020 budget. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, then we move on to item 7, which is unfinished business. This is discuss and consider potential dates for the next joint town meeting. We had tabled this from the November 4th village board meeting, so we'd have to take it off the table first.
I'll move to take it off the table.
Okay,
Second.
motion and second. All those, is there any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries, so it's off the table. Now we can actually talk about it. So originally, a bit ago, Kim Bagan had sent over some dates, some have already passed. The ones that look in the potential future would be next week on the 26th or 28th, and then moving into the first week of December. The 3rd, 4th, or 5th, I think there is multiple, there's meetings that we have that are bumping into some of those. And then the following week on the 10th or 11th, which is the Tuesday, Wednesday, or the board can throw out other dates and we can throw those over to Chris and Kim for consideration, as well as any potential agenda items.
So did we have any potential agenda items?
I think the only thing we probably have would be trying to mop up the Flynn Hall agreement that I can think of right off the top of my head.
I think the reason we had tabled it was to see the outcome of their public hearing on the roads.
On the 11th, yes.
How was that?
They're not.
They're not in favor. The citizens that came out were not in favor of it. So certainly that would not be an item for discussion since their citizenry is not interested in it, so that's fine.
What would we have to discuss about Flint Hall?
I guess the finalizing of the agreement perhaps, but I mean, we don't have to have a meeting to do that. I'm just saying that's the only thing I can think of as of right now to have a discussion.
Because I think we need to talk about Flint Hall agreement before we can talk with them.
Yeah, if we set one of these up, we'd have to have that discussion, and I think it's just a matter of looking over the changes in wording that we had already agreed on and saying, yes, that's fine, or no, change this or change that, and then move forward.
I don't think that we need to have a meeting jointly with them for that.
No, again, that's the only thing I could think of top of mind.
They provide any topics for consideration?
They did not, I don't believe. Not in her notes back. No.
I mean,
Or do we wait till after the holidays and try to do something January, February, and then there's probably potentially some items to discuss at that point?
And that's what I would suggest. Wait until after Christmas, New Year's.
Because at that point, maybe the joint party will have met again. There'll be hopefully a further discussion on the brush truck and what that entails. I don't know if there was ever a decision on the phones for the emergency government building yet. I think that's still with joint fire. Not sure if there's anything with EMS that needs to be discussed.
I don't recall, did we, Melissa, do you remember, John, do you remember, did we determine somebody to go with on the phones? I thought we
think
did.
so.
I thought we did,
That's all
yeah.
done, yeah.
So I think that is resolved.
It is resolved.
But did we determine the portion? Did we
Yeah.
determine the portion the village pays?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and the funds that it came out of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to perhaps move this back on the table until the first meeting in January? And we might have a better idea after the holidays, potential dates and maybe different topics at that point.
I make a motion that we table our joint, or picking a date for the joint town-village meeting till the first meeting in January.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's a motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. All right. Then we move right into reports from village boards, commissions, and committees. And we start off with Public Works. We met last on November 5th and talked about, JJ, if you want to jump in here, but I'll start us off at least. We talked about the maintenance policy for some of the paths, particularly in West Lawn. Right now, most of those paths don't go anywhere, so there's really not a reason to maintain them. because there is a liability, because some of them go literally into a pond. So that's what the committee had discussed, that we wouldn't maintain them, and that was consistent with what was in the agreement way back when West Lawn was established. When they do go somewhere, then it's a different discussion. But right now, from a safety perspective, the committee talked about not maintaining those and falling off. Talked a little bit about the potential for repaving for 2020, looking at West Parkview primarily because of its current grading. Talked about the reconstruction of Grove Street, which is a little street that kind of winds up to where the old tower was in Fireman's Park, and the condition of both the street and what's under the street. And there's a significant cost, so we'll have to keep that in mind going forward. And then we had a discussion about the use of road salt, the policy and practice there. And heard from the engineer, heard from JJ. Next tentative date for a meeting is December 3rd with a topic of leaf collection, I think, as instructed. Matt?
Just one question, the mid-block path discussion, was there any talk about any potential for signage?
Yeah.
Pretty minimal small signs, but just to maybe say no winter maintenance so that we're not getting phone calls of complaints.
Yeah, and that's consistent with other communities that have these types of paths. And JJ, jump in if you'd like.
We actually had a proposal from a sign vendor in the packet, and it actually just arrived today. So, yeah, it was on the short.
Any other items? JJ, I missed anything else? No.
Certainly.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, under old business, I mean, street sweeping and leaf pickup, is that still going to, I know the weather kind of changed really quick this year, so.
Hoping to get the street sweeper out, if not tomorrow, the next day, per most recent conversation with Marty. This was actually just an update on, there was a question about, at Public Works about looking at privatizing, when we were talking about the capital equipment plan, and basically I couldn't find any large municipalities that did it, and the ones that tried it were decades ago and it didn't go well. So it was just an update on that, but yes, there are still plans to get the sweeper out, weather permitting.
Okay, thanks.
I had a question about the salt use policy and practice. So there's Wisconsin Saltwise. So is that something that we can make a proclamation to follow? Or like, how does a partnership with Wisconsin Saltwise work? And it's okay if you don't know the answer at the moment.
I don't know if necessarily be a partnership. They're a great educational opportunity. New staff's going to go through, and even some of the guys that haven't had it yet are going to go through next year. Their trainings are done for the year, I believe, a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The discussion we did have here was more, we're hopefully by, I believe, possibly the January meeting, we're going to have a couple of neighborhoods identified for some different types of salt usage that the village is using. And then maybe even a salt sand mix or even just some sand.
Yeah.
But it's going to be prefaced with a lot of outreach to those neighborhoods, letters from me, things like that. So we're gonna step in slowly, just because we use a good amount of salt in snow operations, but we definitely don't want to change too drastically too quickly. Subject all of you to phone calls immediately. So we're gonna have a couple of test areas and see how it goes.
Okay.
And then I appreciate the Facebook post about how much salt a resident, can use for an area, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good day on a day like this to tell people that.
Thank you.
All right, and then moving on then to Zoning Board of Appeals. Aaron, you have an update on that?
Yeah, so I think this was only the second one of these in Lee's entire time here. So
In 38
we
years.
don't do these very often. We had a resident on Tanglewood Court, which is just north of the old business park, wanted to do a three-season room on the back of their building. We couldn't do it without violating the rear setback, so they couldn't get the building permit. We said if they thought they could prove a hardship, we could get a meeting together and they could try and get an approval. And given the kind of unusual shape of the lot and the lack of depth, it's actually wider than it is deep, which is unusual. The Zoning Board of Appeals did approve their request.
Thanks, Aaron.
John, although I take great pride in my memos, if you have time, you should read the memo that Aaron wrote for the zoning board of appeals. It's one of the best I've ever read. There's actually math in it too, so that,
I like math.
yeah. But it was excellent, and it really eliminated any need for discussion. So thanks to him for helping out with that.
Super. All right, then we move on to Community Development Authority. Jeff?
Yeah, we met on the 11th at 5:30. There were only 3 agenda items. First, we looked at the approval of the $7,500 for next year's for marketing, so we went ahead and approved all that. We talked a little bit about why, the board didn't feel at this time that it was good to put the $45,000 into a budget, kind of last minute, and everybody kind of agreed to that. Aaron presented a really good layout of things that we could be doing to be more proactive, to be ready for that the next budget season. So we agreed to start working down that list. At the next meeting, we'll look at what our goals would be for doing so, for rebranding, for beefing up our marketing and reaching out to certain developers to try to not only gear towards TID 10, but all the TIDs and all the neighborhoods in Cottage Grove, and look at it as a community as a whole. And then the final item was we cannot meet on the normal time in December, because that's right along the time that I believe, Aaron, you're going to be going to. There's the conference in Chicago for what's it called?
American Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah, and I think board members are allowed to go to that too, right? Or anybody is, if they wanted to pay the money and go. Yeah. So, and then you'll have to remind me. The next meeting we set was it the 18th or 12th? 12th at 5:30. Thursday the 12th at 5:30 of December. Yeah.
All right. Utility Commission.
All right, so Utility Commission met last week on the 13th, on Wednesday. We do have something very exciting coming up this week on Wednesday, the water tower lighting, which all of you have received messages about. We'll have the lighting ceremony at 7 in the Summit parking lot, so we hope to see you there. We also had a resident that wants to build a 3-season porch, and it's going in on a utility easement, so there's more to come on that. Otherwise, cross-connection program is going, and the AMI meters, water meters, there's lots of things on that checklist. Anything else? Really? I think that's about all. Okay. And then our next meeting is December 11th at 5:15.
All right, then we'll move on to Plan Commission. So during Plan Commission, and Melissa, please jump in as well. We did have an open hearing on the rezoning of a couple pieces of property, which are actually here for discuss and consider for John DeWitt. Those are both approved by the committee, and the public did have an opportunity to comment on that. And then there was a conditional use, just an update from Ferris Brothers Auto. They'll be coming up in a future plan commission. Aaron assures us to kind of go through their plans. They kind of missed the window of really doing anything this year because of the temperature, cold snap really quickly. But they are moving forward with plans and have actually cleaned up some things for the residents nearby. And then there was general discussion of creating family residential zoning districts, just adjusting those as currently stated. We have a floor of 10,000 square feet, and most of the communities around us have a lower floor than that. So, and it just impedes optional residential design and developers from being a little more creative. So Aaron gave us a nice little overview of that. Anything else I missed? Aaron?
Kind of a short meeting.
Yeah, it was unusual for a plan these days. So if there are no questions, then there's 2 items then for the rezones. Do we have any motion on either of those or both of them? Or questions?
Do we consider them separately?
Yeah, I think that's because they're different parcels.
Okay. I'll move to approve the rezone of Lot 2 of CSM 13103 located north of CVS from planned business to neighborhood business.
Second?
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries.
Was there, anybody write anything for this item?
I'm sorry, yes. John is here, and he is in favor, of course, of this. And he's here to answer any questions. Thanks, Melissa. Because he didn't write anything else on there. I'm like, oh, he's here just because he's interested and it's his property, so. But the developer is here if the board does have any questions for him. It's just allowing him more options for a property that's been sitting vacant for quite some time, as he explained to the Plan Commission.
And Aaron captured the public comments and things like that in his village action report that was in the packet.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody in mind with these rezoning? Like, do you have any interest?
We have a
You're not
potential.
going to make him talk.
Might as well. you know,
He's here,
right?
yeah.
I feel so formal. We have an interested party for Lot 48. We have nothing going for Lot 2. We're really actually very interested in that rezoning because there are a number of people now that are doing condominium duplexes and just general duplex development. So we're real thankful for the approval on Lot number 2 because that, I think, opens up a significant opportunity for us. And a lot of those people say, well, we don't want to talk to you, we don't want to go through the rezone process. So now that we've got something that's either permitted or conditional, at least now they know that they're within a range and we can get them to the table. We're contemplating doing a multifamily ourselves on lot number 48 in conjunction with another developer. It's up to them to get some of the things together, and I'll be passing the baton. I won't be doing the development on that per se. But there's no contract, there's no offer, there's no nothing on the table at this point but talk. So we're anxious to keep that flexibility open for lot 48 as well.
It sounds like most likely that would be a planned unit development. with the
I'm
current
sorry?
project. It sounds like most likely that would be a planned unit development.
Yes, yeah.
So that would be a.
We'd have to come in
another
and
approval
rezone.
again.
Yes, we'd have to rezone it again in theory, but we're assuming, I used to be an optimist, now I just assume the worst. If that doesn't come to pass, we'll have a good zoning in place so that we can, I think have some better marketing opportunities for Lot 48 too.
All right. Any other questions for John?
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezoning of lot 48, Coral Highlands.
Is the motion a second then? Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
All right, moving right through here. Next item is reports from village officers. First one is myself, and this is for discuss and consider the committee members for the Library Planning Committee. Folks have graciously volunteered and have some good backgrounds on all this. So this is David Peterson, Cindy Kilm, and Nelson. Ann Schneeman, who's actually here.
So Cindy.
And, so Cindy, okay. Hi, Cindy. Tiffany Haas, and of course, Melissa, who brought all this up and would be representing the board on that. So is there a motion for approval of those?
I'll make a motion that we approve David Pearson, Cindy Kel Nelson, Ann Schwinneman, Tiffany Haas, and Melissa Radcliffe for the Library Planning Committee.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Can I second?
You can second. I'm on here, I probably should.
It's unseemly, but allow.
So with that, Sarah seconded. All right, any further discussion?
Is Tiffany the school representative?
Yes, she is, sorry.
And was there anyone registered on this item, or was it something else?
Other than Anne, and she doesn't want to speak, but she is in favor. Right, Anne? So yeah, we've got both of those for the record. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion then? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. And then it's just looking for interest for the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee. This is more for board members, just to let me know if you are interested, and just wanted to have that on public record for that. And again, this would be something we could start after the first of the year, kind of coordinating hopefully all the great activity that's already being done through some various committees around sustainability, and hopefully leveraging some of the activity around the county and state and nation when it comes to sustainability. So,
Do you have an idea of who would be on the committee? Like what type of people or
starting
board
here
members?
first, and then what I do is go from there as far as leveraging some of the work that was done before this. But certainly I would look for a cross-sectional number of folks that maybe have some experience in commercial and experience in, environmental, that type of stuff, and meshing all that together as far as kind of coming up with strategies. So I haven't gone that far. I wanted to make sure I have interest or support from the board before moving forward.
Would we have a staff member assigned to the committee?
Yeah, we would. Yep. Probably we'll pick straws or whatever, but certainly there's a number of staff members, I think, that would lend some good feedback.
And then the committee would work with departments too to see what the needs are.
Yeah, departments as well as the committees. I think I'm more looking for just overall coordination, kind of hopefully trying to come up with a strategy, and then, funneling ideas in from elsewhere. Is essentially this. It's not to change anything that committees are already moving forward with and working on. We've got some in the budget. We've got work being done on our facilities, so that's all going to go forward. So a lot of things are moving forward. I want to be able to set strategy, capture all this good stuff that's going on, and then make sure we're coordinated and leveraging outside of what we've got going on.
Well, I think that there's a lot going on. I went to the it's like with the county and city of Madison, trying to gather more people in the region, and building off what other people have done, because we can do more together. So I think that this type of committee would be
Sounds
a
great.
great first step in making that official in Cottage Grove.
I think so too.
Yeah, good call.
Is the question if we're interested, if we like the idea of the committee, or is your question, are we willing to serve on the committee, or is it both?
No, just support it, right?
Okay.
It's whether or not you're supportive, which it sounds like you are, and then secondly, just elicit anybody's interest at this point in that. So if you don't have to tell me now, if you want to think about it, whatever, but just let me know. All I need really right now to go forward is just to say the board is supportive of this, and I don't want to move forward without that. So unless somebody tells me otherwise, I'm going to
Do you have
move forward.
an idea of when they would meet, or is that too early to tell?
At bare minimum, I think quarterly. Maybe a little bit at first, probably, maybe monthly for the first quarter. And then subsequent to that, I think quarterly would be fine, because by then, understanding what committees are working on, make sure we're aligned in that effort, and then, checking back in and then feeding back information. So that's kind of what I think, get going, and then I don't see it as a monthly thing. So that's really all I needed. So I will continue marching down that road, and then if any of you have extra time or interest or both, just let me know. Lee?
On almost a weekly or every 2 weeks or so, when you're looking through the newspaper, you find open records or come up. Lately, I see that the governor's being sued for, they want all of his emails from a certain day, and he says no. And so, you know, you'll see that kind of playing out. But I think it's just important to remind you that generally whatever you write between yourselves or that's not an attorney-client privileged communication is going to be open to the public, so you should keep that in mind. And I haven't really seen any issues with that with the board, but it's just a good reminder. And then, John, the rest of my comments will take place in closed session.
Okay. All right. Item 10 then is consideration of vouchers. I had one question since JJ is still here. Did they deliver the salt?
Most of it.
Okay, because we got obviously a payment in here for Detroit Salt Company. I want to make sure that you had mentioned in Public Works that we hadn't gotten the shipment. They sent it to a different municipality that was supposed to come here when our staff member was waiting at the salt bin to open it up for that person, and they decided to go to another community and drop it off. He wasn't expecting it. So,
We've gotten 200 of our 250 ton order, so
okay,
they're getting better.
good to know. Any other questions about the vouchers?
What's the chip brush pile?
Our unofficial pile over near Fireman's Park, so often we have to have that made smaller. So they bring in a big tub grinder and chop it up. So they came and chopped it up for us.
Does it, at least once a year, maybe twice a year, depending on what we have, I
This
think?
was a big one. It's been a year and a half. Just
Oh, okay.
because, mostly because the guy that did it for us previously left the business, so we had to figure out who else does this. So finally found one that came highly recommended, got him in here. Opted not to have him hauled away because that would have been another $2,700, I think. So Sean needed some, and we'll find ways to use it, or we'll take care of it ourselves.
Any other questions, vouchers?
I'll move to approve.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Having heard that, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? You abstain? Motion carries. All right, correspondence, I don't have anything for you. Okay. Upcoming community events. We are fast approaching Christmas in the Grove. Heidi, I don't know if you have any other updates from...
So there'll be parade Friday night. There's events Thursday night through Sunday. Tree lightings after the parade. The tree will be outside Bank of Sun Prairie in that grassy area by the Piggly Wiggly. There's a lot of great new events this year. Summit's hosting a movie on Saturday morning, and so yeah, there's a poster outside if you want to check out the schedule. Yes.
All right. Good stuff.
And then December 12th, Lisa sent out an email, not necessarily a community event, although anyone is welcome to come in and say hi to Tom and congratulate him on his retirement as building inspector for the village. So it'll just be a 2-hour open house. People can pop in for however long they would like. And so that's from 11 to 1 on Thursday, December 12th.
And it looked like there would be cake.
We'll make arrangements for cake and light snacks.
Just cake, not cupcakes, though.
No, not after the
Well-
last time.
And this Thursday at 4, there's a ribbon cutting at Downdrains Distilling.
All right. Thank you. And then we have obviously the tower lighting that JJ already mentioned on Thursday at 7. I'm sorry, Wednesday. Thank you, Jeff. Keep me straight here. Days are all mixed up. Anything else that we have to highlight coming up?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's true. Future agenda items.
Speaking of building inspection, we'll have building inspection services proposals here for the meeting. So we've received 2 of the larger ones in the state, and they'll be coming to present their proposal, and it'll be handled similar to the banking RFP that we just went through. So
Anything else? All right, otherwise, I'll make a motion to go into closed session. The Village of Cottage Grove Board will enter into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session. This closed session is in regards to negotiations with TID number 5 and negotiations with terms of development agreement with Monona Grove School District, and will enter into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, in this case, the administrator's evaluation. And then item 12 will reconvene into open
That-
session, which is,
Oops. That should have been moved down to
yeah,
the next line.
and I'll stop reading at that point. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. This is a roll call.
Lindberg,
Aye.
Murphy,
Aye.
Russell,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Ratcliffe,
Aye.
Valencia. Aye. Williams.
Aye.
This one got short.